Chapter 4 Citoyen Bonaparte. The journey from Paris to Nice was accomplished in 11 stages. From each of these and from almost every posting house where the general halted for relays, a letter was dispatched to the Citoyen Bonaparte, care of the Citoyen Beauharnais. These letters breathe nothing but passion. Ambition finds no expression here, so confident is the writer in his destiny. He seems to feel no doubt, no uncertainty as to the future. His confidence is so complete that it has no need of utterance. He indulges in no speculations, gives no hint of his plans, and seems to feel no uneasiness as to his means. He might be one of those princes of some 2 centuries ago, sitting out to preside at a victory. He writes of nothing but love of her and of himself. At Nice, whether issuing his laconic orders to the unruly hordes out of which he is to mold an army, or subduing with one frowning glance such mutinous subalterns as Augereau and Masson, or rapidly devising a system whereby his exhausted soldiers may be fed, equipped, and disciplined in preparation for that rush upon the Alps with which they are to open the campaign. Letter after letter flies to Josephine. When I'm inclined to curse my fate, I lay my hand upon my heart and feel your portrait there. I look at it and love fills me with joy unspeakable. Life seems to have no sorrow save that of separation from my beloved. This portrait he never laid aside. He showed it to everyone, said his prayers before it, and was in agony of despair when the glass was broken, a mishap which he looked upon as an omen of death. It was the worship of a fanatic, the rapt adoration of a devotee. Had his soldiers known of it, they would not have laughed at him. They were of his own age and race. Like him, their brains were dizzy with supernatural visions. He was a fit general for this strange army. At its head, he, the young man of 26, pale, thin, and impassible of feature, his long hair slightly powdered, his deep-set eyes flashing a fire that penetrated the very souls of men, awing and subjugating the most unruly. Under him, adventurers of every type, Augereau, a deserter from every standard of Europe, an effusive swashbuckler, roisterer and bully, Masson, a successful smuggler, a pirate upon occasion, an ardent lover of women and of money, and as little fastidious in his tastes for the one as in his pursuit of the other. They would have rejoiced at the downfall of the little ci-devant who had been exalted above them, but his keen eyes fixed steadily upon them, and growling fiercely, the wild beasts grovel at their master's feet. The inferior officers and soldiers as a whole, for there are individual rebels, such as Landru, do not need taming. They give in their adhesion at the first word. The majority of them are recruited from the army of the Eastern Pyrenees. They have gone through the ordeal of self-renunciation, and each man has in him something of the spirit of Lettre d'Auvergne. Their thoughts are of glory and of fatherland. In the coming war, they were found officers who declined promotions as if it had been an insult, corporals who turned the tide of battles, private soldiers who approved themselves good generals in an emergency, and divine all the intricacies of strategy. An electric current of genius thrilled through the ranks, filling each young heart with a like disdain of death, a like cheerfulness in peril, a like joyful stoicism, a like romantic conception of love. Here again Bonaparte showed himself worthy to be their leader. Victory was a means of seeing her again, of possessing her, of having her near him, with him always. With such thoughts in his mind, he had gained 6 victories within a fortnight in the month of April 1796, taken 21 standards, and compelled the capitulation of Piedmont. Soldiers, we thank you. Yes, from our hearts, for Josephine is coming. Junot, who has been dispatched to Paris with trophies, is to bring her back. He cries out for his wife, come, come. If you linger, you will find me ill on your arrival. The fatigues I have undergone in your absence are too much. It was no excuse to hasten her. He was consumed by fever, exhausted by an incessant cough. The scurvy contracted at Toulon had weakened and emaciated him, and the one longing, the one idea possessed him day and night. You will come. You will be here beside me, on my heart, in my arms. Oh, that you had wings! Come, come! The world contained but this one woman for him. At Cairo, the mistress of a Piedmontese officer was brought before him. She was young, exquisitely beautiful. A momentary fire flashed into his eyes as he looked at her. Then, motioning his officers to remain, he received the captive with calm dignity and gave orders for her safe conduct through the lines and restoration to her lover. Such an act may be attributed to policy, but when Grassini offered him her love at Milan and in despair at his coldness breathed her soul out in strains so pathetic and melodious that the whole army was converted to a passion for music, he showered money on the singer and rejected the mistress. All womanhood for him was comprised in one woman, and all the joys of love began and ended only in her. Why did she delay her coming? Truth to tell, the thought of following the drum by no means attracted her. She greatly preferred to rejoice over the results of the campaign in Paris, where it was delightful to find herself at the summit of her desires at last, a recognized queen and leader in the new capital. Bonaparte sent her liberal supplies, and there was unlimited credit for the wife of the commander-in-chief of the victorious army. She took part in every fete, in every assembly, in every reception at the Luxembourg, which had regained something of its princely splendor under Barras. Here, a prominent place was always assigned to Josephine, beside Madame Tallien, the reigning divinity. She was conspicuous in the front row of spectators when Junot presented the 21 banners to the Directory and left the hall on Junot's arm, sharing all the glories of the triumph. Then there were first nights at the play, when the pit rose up to greet her as she entered her box, and she tasted the sweets of popular acclamation. Then official fetes, the festival of gratitude and victory, which seemed to be given especially in her honor. And above all, or rather summing up all, there was Paris, the city of which she was so enamored that she could scarcely live outside it. The Paris which so fascinated her that her chief preoccupation throughout the 18 years of life that had remained to her was how to contrive as to remain in it. Meanwhile, Bonaparte, waiting, hoping, raging at the delay, tortured by jealousy, anxiety, and longing, wrote letter after letter, dispatched courier upon courier. What was she doing? What was she thinking of? She had taken a fresh lover, no doubt, one of about 19 this time. If so, let her be aware of Othello's dagger, at which outpourings she would smile and protest with her pretty Creole lisp that Bonaparte is really very droll. An excuse of some sort must be found. However, Joseph Bonaparte is in Paris, urging her departure. Junot, pleasant as he finds it to play the part of dashing hussar in Paris, is about to rejoin the army. Lodi has followed on Crasco, and the troops are now at Milan. A palace and not a camp awaits her. Josephine is at her wit's end. An ordinary illness is too hackneyed an excuse, but how would it be to declare herself pregnant? She catches at the idea. Bonaparte is enraptured at the news. How shall I ever atone, he writes, for all my hard thoughts of you? You were ill, and I accused you of lingering in Paris. Forgive me, my beloved. My passion robs me of my reason, and I shall never recover it. Mine is a disease for which there are no remedies. I am oppressed by mournful forebodings. There are times when I should be content to see you once more, to press you once more to my heart, and then to die with you. A child, sweet as its mother, is soon to lie in your arms. Oh, to be with you but for one day. He writes the same evening to Joseph. I am in despair, my brother. My wife, the creature I love best in the world, is ill. My brain reels at the thought. The darkest forebodings oppress me. I implore you to tell me exactly how she is. What is there to fear? I beseech you, by our brotherhood, by the tender affection there has always been between us since childhood. Watch over her, tend to her as I should be proud to do myself. You cannot bring my heart to the task, but you, and you alone, can in some measure take my place. You are the only man in the world for whom I have a true and lasting affection. After her, after my Josephine, you hold the first place in my heart. Comfort me, tell me the truth. You know me. You know my passionate nature. You know that Josephine is the only woman I have ever really loved. The thought of her illness drives me distracted. No one writes to me. All have forsaken me. Even you do not write. I am alone with my fears, my misery. If she is better, I can safely undertake the journey. I long unspeakably to have her with me. I want to see her, to hold her in my arms. I love her so madly. I cannot live without her. If she were to die, there would be nothing left for me to live for. Oh, my good brother, I rely on you. See that my messenger remains no more than 6 hours in Paris, and send him back with new life to me. His patience is at last exhausted. He threatens to resign his command and return to Paris if his wife does not join him. Josephine sees that it would be dangerous to trifle further. The most plausible of her excuses, the one that appealed most strongly to Bonaparte, is no longer available, if indeed it ever had any foundation in fact. Josephine is not to be deceived by the plea of illness, for he sees her taking part in all the pleasures of society, and very well able to bear their fatigues.